Alright, what's up you guys? Welcome to this very fantastic, fabulous Shark Talks Wednesday night edition. I am your host, the only shark here. What's up? How is everyone doing? Thank you so much for joining on this Wednesday. It is pretty cold out. It is freaking winter decorations. Christmas lights are all coming in, so that's going to be pretty exciting. We have Greg Archer in the chat, Derek Holloman, Joshua, Paul, GIJOE, which is a pretty badass name, GIJOE, Samuel Barnhart, Todd C, and 49er Brian. What's up, you guys? Thank you all so much for joining. I know it's pretty impromptu live stream. I no longer give out, as the channel is starting to slowly pick up momentum. There are a lot of changes compared to the past two channels that I've had, both unfortunately gone from history. But it's still nice to see a lot of people finding my channel again. So thank you guys so much for returning and bringing the Shark family alive. So it's awesome. Let's catch up. Let's read some of the comments, because today we're going to be talking about the GIJOE classified Haslab Dragonfly. We will be talking about some leaks that happened, and then we will be talking about, I guess, some other random goodies, whatever comes to mind. Not necessarily too much of a planned live stream, but I figured let's chat with you guys because I love when it gets like super duper wintry and stuff. And yeah. Greg Archer says, I got my Dragonfly over the weekend and still haven't unboxed it. It's cool, man. I mean, I think at this point, we should all appreciate and unbox our figures whenever time permits, and that's what makes it, being as a collector, the most happiest. Because here's the thing, when you are a YouTuber, and I use myself loosely because I'm no longer at the peak of my throne, which I was before. But if you are a YouTuber, half of your excitement of opening up a brand new figure is easily tarnished, because instead of admiring the figure, instead of enjoying the figure and just kind of remembering those old golden days of happiness, it's like you immediately want to just take it out of the package and unbox it on camera, review it, post it on YouTube so you can make your money. And then after that, you lose half of that charm of what it's like, taking the time to really just play around with the figure and just see how cool it is, rather than, doing it for a few bucks for the YouTube and then, trying to get subscribers and stuff. So it's really cool that for those who haven't gotten theirs yet or haven't even opened it, it's I think patience is definitely a virtue, because you'll probably enjoy it a lot more than those of us who quickly rushed to unbox it and post it all over socials just to be like, oh yeah, I got mine first and here's the review, here's my 10,000 viewed video of the Dragonfly. And yeah, because now literally, for those of us that have already gotten our Dragonflies, I'm sure we're all taking like good photos of it. But because I've gotten mine, probably it's been 4 days now, 5 days, I don't even remember at this point. It's already collecting dust. So it's good to really just take your time with it. All right. Derek says, my Dragonfly is on the way, hopefully Friday. That's good, man. I know you'll definitely like it. Joshua says, got mine on Saturday, assembled it last night, will probably open the figures now. That's cool, man. I remember when I used to watch a lot of, before I was even on YouTube, I would watch other YouTubers, and I would have days where I would just kind of sit with my cup of coffee and just like open up figures, and it was kind of like a therapeutic thing for me, just like listening to one of your favorite YouTubers and looking at figures and just kind of like watching them. Like for me, for example, there are a lot of times where I love just, after a very gruesome day, you end up just, you know, chilling on the couch or in bed or whatever, and then one of my favorite YouTubers is Brad the DC Universe Geek, and he goes live with Ahsoka the Geek and Rob D Toys, and you know, they just geek out about DC figures. And even though DC is not in my forte, I do have some knowledge in it, and just seeing them geek out about, you know, cool DC figures, like, I find that very therapeutic. So for those that come here and watch me, thank you for letting me be the voice of your nights sometimes, which is really cool. It's an honor, so thank you guys for that. What's up, Paul? Thank you for joining the stream. And yes, GIJOE, again, still a really badass name. Samuel Barnhart says, I got mine yesterday. Todd C says, haven't opened mine yet, but I'm just admiring the box. Yeah, you know, the box is very... I liked the Haslab His Tank box. However, this one was kind of a curveball, because when you look at the Dragonfly, you would have assumed, or at least I would have assumed, it would have been like a olive green, black, and gold type box. But then when you actually look at it, it's like this tan, peachy, orange, sunsetty vibe with like light blue hues, and you're just like, wow, that, as a graphic designer myself, you're just kind of like admiring the color scheme of it. And I'm like, wow, that's it was an uncalled for palette, but I thought that was very well done. So good for you for enjoying the box, because I thought that was pretty cool. 49er Brian, you know it's a party when 49er comes in, so what's up? Thank you for joining. Aquarius Man says, what's up, Shark? Got mine yesterday. Congratulations, brother. He says, hi, and how are you? I'm doing all right. I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking. Aquarius Man says, what do you think about your Dragonfly, and are you happy with it? Well, we will definitely go over that shortly, as this is technically just the intro for the time being. So I'll get to that. I'll answer your question in a bit. Todd C says, need to dim the lights and take out the scented candles and prepare the mood for this unboxing. Oh, damn, yeah. Don't forget the, what was it? No, you already said scented candles. Yeah, no, that's mood right there. Hell yeah. Try to get some what do you call it? Shoot, I forgot the name of it, but that sounds great. All right. The Toy Odyssey, welcome, says, just got my Dragonfly TELE. It's a gorgeous piece. I'm glad you like it, bro. That's what's up. Samuel Barnhart says, I was like a kid on Christmas Day. I'm sure we all were at this point. Ionic Blood. First of all, shout out to Ionic Blood for being such an amazing subscriber and constant supporter of the channel. So thank you so much for always having my back, Ionic Blood. So thank you so much for even being here. Boocat, what's up? And familiar name Boocat, what's up? I'm still making space for my Dragonfly before I unbox it. Yeah, my Dragonfly is literally on the floor right now, collecting dust. I have zero space to put it. My cousin suggested I nail it to the wall, but even then that takes up a lot of space. So I gotta, and I don't know if I'm gonna use the stand that comes with it, just because I don't even have table space for that stand either. So I don't know what to really do. Because my Haslab His Tank is on a shelf that's attached to the wall. I was lucky enough to have a room that had a built-in shelf, but the Dragonfly though is a lot longer, and the only way I can fit it on shelves is if I remove the tail, but that would really take away from it. So let's see here. Joshua says, I took some time to decide which stickers to do, only put 4. Yeah, to be quite honest, stickers are like OCD for me, because I'm kind of a perfectionist, and that's exactly why I also don't have tattoos or anything, because as like an artist myself, and again, going back to like graphic design and whatever, I get very bothered and bored bored of certain designs and styles like within like 10 minutes. So that's why I did not put any stickers or decals on my Hiss tank or Dragonfly, because as soon as I put it on, 10 minutes later I'll be like, man, I could have put the other one on. And since I only have one of each, it's kind of like I don't want to ruin the stickers either. So it's better if I just don't use any of them and kind of admire them in the sheets, and then let both the vehicles kind of just be what they are. Ionic Blood says, still trying to settle which stickers to use. I like the clean look. Yeah, you know, the clean look can never go wrong. However, I also like the zombified versions of it. It adds a nice incentive to those who bought like more than 2 or 1, just because you can have, you know, Wild Bill kind of be like a weird guy who's just into zombies and kind of decked out his what do you call it, Dragonfly. So GIJOE says, any QC issues with the figures? Thankfully I've had no QC issues with mine, so I'm very well. When I say, okay, so QC issues, I think my Wild Bill's torso is a bit loose. However, I can settle with that. It's no it's not really a big deal. Now, should it be like that? Absolutely not, but you know, it is what it is. So other than that, all the other figures, they came out pretty well. I have no complaints about the figures or QC issues. Because as Tall Joe's HQ says, I've seen a couple of broken legs on the tiers on Instagram. Yeah, so I've seen a couple of photos of people having their figures break already. Now, I can't speak on behalf of other collectors, but I know for me, especially when it's like these new 6-inch figures, the thing that pisses me off the most when it comes to collecting these new brand figures and these new era style of figures, which is like 6-inch and bigger or whatever, is the concept of taking it out of the package and having to heat it up and then making the articulation work. You know, granted that it's probably going to snap right out of the package. However, it really just depends how rough people really are, you know, because an example would be whenever I open a classified figure, I don't just immediately start folding the legs and bending the elbows and like posing them just to be like, wow. I literally admire it. And same goes for like NECA figures. I literally admire it. I hold it in my hand. I try to slightly move it left and right, and then I let it sit there for like a few days. Even if I'm still holding it in my hand, like I don't do like a full pose. I let it catch some fresh air for like a few days, and then that's when I really break it in and be like, okay, let's see how good the knees are and this and that. That's why when I do like my reviews on the channel, like my reviews, I don't show articulation, because there's already hundreds and hundreds of other YouTubers out there who are just like, yeah, the neck can move this way, the neck moves this way, the knees move this way, arms. It's just like, I don't give a damn about how that is, because anybody can pose it any way they want. I'm a big fan of vanilla poses. I just pick it up, I'll pose it, and then I'll post it to the, you know, put it on the shelf, and then after that it's, you know, you move on to the next figure. So I personally love talking about the design of the figure, the aesthetic, the color scheme, the overall you know, like the outcome of it, rather than, you know, oh, can he grip the figure, can he grip the weapon this way, etc. So let's see what else. All right, I'm catching up with all the chat, so hang in there. Derek Holloman says, I won't use the stickers, didn't use on any of the Hiss. Yeah, mine are still intact on the actual like sticker sheet. So sorry. Copperhead Shrimp says, big fan, Shark, glad to be here. Thank you so much, Copperhead Shrimp. I wish I could find a way to like that comment, but YouTube is not giving me any option to do so. But thank you so much for that comment. I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much for being here, Copperhead Shrimp. Okay, let's see what else. Boo Cat says, I was considering hanging mine from the ceiling near my shelves with the Joe stuff on it. I'm very scared to even hang it from any kind of ceiling. Not just because of the weight to it. It's just I don't trust Hasbro in the sense that their quality of any of these will last very long in terms of these vehicles. As soon as any of these things will fall off the shelf, I can probably guarantee you it will snap into places that we wouldn't have not suggested. So that's a risk that we're all willing to take if we so choose to hang it from a ceiling. So I definitely I wouldn't do that to mine, but go for it if you like. Toy Odyssey says, I ended up putting the teeth stickers on it. Looks sick on them. Yeah, they do look really cool if they're also done right. RK welcome says, wishing they had a sticker or way to change the Bill's name on the side of having more than one Dragonfly. Well, that's part of the marketing or the gimmick, right? You would have to buy more than one if you don't want to utilize a certain sticker or a certain, because I think it's genius, because when I was doing the unboxing on the live stream, when I think it was YouTuber Mr. Madgus was telling me you can swap out the firepower on both sides to make it even, or you can have one side missiles and the other side like the heavy machinery. And I was like, holy shit, that's insane, because if I had at least 4 of those, then yeah, I would swap them out left and right, have different versions of it, same as the His tank, you know, one version with the treads, one without, one with the retro canopy. So thankfully, I'm not a hardcore classified collector in terms of like army building and getting multiple vehicles. So like I kind of have that patience of saying, okay, I just need one and I'll be fine. But I can totally understand the frustration of wanting to get a certain vehicle look the way it is, but then also realizing you only have just one of it, and if you had another, you could have easily customize it in a separate way. The Nerd Alert says, yo, what's up, Shark? And the chat, it seems like it's been forever. It has been forever. Thank you so much, Nerd Alert, for joining the chat. It's going to be a pretty slow time of the year. Classified's going to hit that slow year. I mean, we will be talking about the leaks shortly. But this time of the year, the Dragonflies, since they're already shipping, there's really nothing else to look forward to than probably next February, because that's going to be G.I. Joe Day. So G.I. Joe Day is in February, so technically December and January will be very, very, very slow months, aside from whatever damn leaks we'll be getting shortly. RK says, having multiples and all saying Wild Bill is kinda... Yeah, we'll talk about Wild Bill and the figures in a bit. Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up with the chat. Benedict, what's up? Thank you for joining. What up, miss? Welcome, welcome. Todd C says, have to break them in, not literally break them. Yeah, no, I got it. Pun intended. Solo Sinner. Oh my god, Solo Sinner is back on the channel. Welcome, Solo. It's good to see you, man. Thank you so much for joining. You know, Solo, I was actually thinking about your channel the other day, because I was just like, I wonder if Solo even remembers this channel, because I know the other two are not existing anymore. So thank you for finding me again, Solo. It's good to see you back on here again. And thank you for the shark emoji. That's freaking awesome. Joshua says, I gotta be wise and get the hair dryer. Yeah, I mean, my philosophy or common way of playing with figures is like, I shouldn't have to blow dry my damn figures. You know, it's like, we already spent so much money on it. So why do we need to spend an extra 5 minutes on blow drying figures for for it to have a break? Benedict says, my classified lowlight had horrible QC. He can't twist his waist at all. The classified lowlight figure, surprisingly, as lowlight being one of my favorite G.I. Joes, regardless, I was not too impressed with Lowlight. I mean, Lowlight is a really badass looking character, but there's something about that classified version that I'm not too happy with. It just doesn't quite do it for me, and I'm not sure what it is, and I can't really explain it. But it's just one of those things where I had a different vision in my head for that figure, and what they came with is, it's a fine figure, it's a good looking figure, it's just, I still don't think it's the best version it could have been, but it is what it is. Copperhead says, by the way, Copperhead, Shrimp, Copperhead's my favorite Cobra character, by the way, so it's really cool to see your name on that. He says, I wrench my joints around right away, it drives me crazy if they can't move. Yeah, I mean, that's what sucks, you know, right? Like, you buy your figures and then you find out they don't move. Benedict says, I got my Dragonfly on Monday, just in time for Veterans Day, I still haven't unboxed it. It's okay, man. Take your time, enjoy it, embrace it. You have all of winter to enjoy these figures, because we should have a, you know, some fun for the holidays until we get like new figures that come out. The OG Tomahawk helicopter was notorious for its brittle propellers. For those that actually unboxed it, are your propellers attached in very tightly? Because I feel like mine are kind of loose, but I don't want to just like shove it in the hole just yet. So I want to see if your guys is like the little piece that holds the propellers, is it wobbly for you guys, or do I have to like really crank it in there? Joshua says, if I hung it from the ceiling, I may as well add a sign, cats jump on this. If they can jump that high. Liquid Identity, welcome to the chat, says, classified is too slow, had to start the Black series. Oh, damn. I mean, I wish I was a Star Wars guy. My Star Wars only lasts until episodes 1, 2, and 3, which is the original Star Wars, or as I guess diehard fans would say, 4, 5, and 6. So Jason Atreides says, let's go Shark. Welcome, Jason. Thank you so much for joining. It's good to see you, bro. Benny 275 says, yo, what's good, homie? Happy to see you have both Haslabs. By the way, were you able to back the Rattler? I unfortunately did not back the Rattler, and that's just one of those things where it's okay. You kind of have to take your losses, and yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's really okay. But I did not. RK says, really curious to see what's coming as extra packs to the Dragonfly equivalent to the Hiss and 788 team and HMS with Techno. Yeah, let's get to that. Okay, what time is it? Okay, in about 2 more minutes, we'll get to the real topic of the stream. Sorry, I was just catching up with the chat. So yeah, we'll talk about that, RK. Solo Center says, yeah, had to search and find you again, dude. I was hoping to catch the Dragonfly unboxing without Legion's Con. Yeah, it's okay, man. I know the algorithm, like, it was so hard to kind of start the channel again. I tried, man. I'm trying. But I'm glad you were able to find me. I mean, Solo Sinner, and among a lot of the people that are in the chat right now are names that I actually remembered even from both channels. So I want to thank all you guys who are all these familiar names that have been there for all these years. So it's like literally seeing family come back. So thank you guys for, you know, being here. Because again, there's really not, maybe aside from like maybe 1 to 3 names, everyone else is kind of like very familiar and iconic names to the channel. So I remember a lot of these subscribers here. For example, Vil the Great, or The Great, with the shark emojis and the, yeah, that's right. Ionic Blood says, understandable, but at the same time, Hasbro will screw people over if you return a defective item. They like to send back equal or lesser value if they can't replace the toy. That is super shady. I don't know how they would ever replace a Haslab, because those are made to order. So unless they actually have spares sitting around in their offices or warehouses, which is very unlikely. I think broken or QC issues, they would really have to like, I think they would have to figure something out with that, especially with the money wise. Because I would hate to have people get screwed over and not, and like, let's say you return your Haslab Ripcord and CRAZYLEGS with broken feet, and they instead send back like a Arctic bat or a snow serpent or something. Jason says he doesn't want to shove it in the hole just yet, or does he really have to crank it in there? Shark's words on a first date. I mean, my first date is literally just a shark bite, so it's all good. I thought you were talking about the prequels. I mean, I like the prequels, Holonet. The prequels are cool. I mean, think about it. Sorry to segue back to Star Wars real quickly, but the prequels were, I enjoyed it as a kid. I know why they're hated. However, that episode 3 of the prequels, just to see the villains actually win was probably the reason why I really like it, because as a kid growing up, you're always in that cliche of watching the villains kind of dominate half of the movie and then the good guys always win. But when you're watching that scene where Anakin takes out his lightsaber, he starts chopping, slicing the kids, and then on top of that, he's becoming evil. He fights Obi-Wan by the lava pit and all that stuff. Like, that was, like, as a kid, that was just freaking amazing to watch. Like, I thought, I was like, holy shit, the bad guys are actually winning. And lo and behold, technically speaking, like, that whole movie is like the villains won. So I don't know, I liked it. Gucci Nene Baby says, what's up, Shark? Hope all is well. I'm doing well. Thank you so much, Gucci, for joining the chat. That's a very catchy username you got there. Benedict says, I wanted the Rattler, but something about it turned me off. I think it was the lame tears. Yeah, I want to talk about the Rattler. All right. So let's talk about, as you know, so this is a photo that I took after I did my review of the Dragonfly, which you can see on the channel. And this live stream will be my full non-chill thoughts, because I don't like to kiss Hasbro's ass, nor do I like to, you know, I want to give credit where it's due in the sense of it's a beautiful helicopter. I think it looks great. It's great for the figures. It does have nice weight to it. I love the design of it. The thing that kind of bothers me a little bit, now I'm not like a military expert or whatever, but the yellow pieces that they have on the back of the Dragonfly, I don't like. And I also don't like the white missiles. So I think they could have swapped those color schemes out and could have made them black or green or something. For stealth purposes, I guess, you know, it just, and I get it, it's a toy, but it's like, I'm not really a fan of it. Now, putting in the batteries and then seeing the cockpit light up, and then the two lights at the front end of the Dragonfly are really, really awesome. Nicely designed, nicely detailed. However, a missed opportunity for this Dragonfly to me is, you can see on the Dragonfly, if you have it already opened, they have these other lights, these tinier lights on the sides of the wings, and then these two red little lights on the back tail, and then on the top where the propeller is, you'll see like another small little red light. Those do not light up. So I think that was a huge missed opportunity right there. Now, I'm not like a wiring expert or a light guy, and I don't know how much it would have cost for them to put in the extra step to make those light up. but for the price that you are paying for, those tiny lights really should have lit up to make it look even better. Because again, those lights at the cockpit in the front, they're great. Don't get me wrong, I love it. But those smaller lights on the sides and the top and in the back end, the fact that they don't light up, I'm pretty, I know it's a very minor, but it's disappointing to me that they wouldn't go the extra mile to light those up. And I'm sure the wiring would have been pretty difficult to do. But if people were spending over $200, or what was it, $275 for this thing, it really could have just made it, because the Haslab Hiss tank, the cockpit lit up red, and then it had the Cobra logo shine from the front, and then I forgot what the other stuff was. But even then, for the first Haslab, you're kind of like, oh, for $300, you're like, okay, like, it's the first one. But now, as the prices are slightly increasing, or the fact that we're getting bigger vehicles, this should really give Hasbro the incentive to say, you guys are putting in all this money. And the reason why I say all this money is because I need you guys to really think about what I'm going to say, because maybe this will be incorrect, maybe you will disagree with me, maybe whatever, so you guys can write it in the chat and tell me how you think about it. But oh, by the way, shout out to Mr. Madgus and Tesla Super Destinations, and who else joined the chat? BD Bonzi. Thank you guys so much for joining the chat. So the thing that I find very concerning and disappointing is that you are spending $275, right, for this giant ass helicopter, which is, again, it's a fantastic piece. Now, I've been reading comments of people saying, I just bought, I bought the Haslab just for the Dragonfly. And then you see them selling Wild Bills, extra Wild Bills. You can see them not caring for the NIGHTFORCE characters. You can see them selling Glenda. So now I'm thinking, you literally spent $275+ on just a helicopter when you could have had 4 extra characters. However, I would have easily thought that it could have been an incentive for them to give us these characters. But to be quite honest, and I'm going to be very transparent with you guys, because yes, I do love G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe is always and will be my #1 favorite brand to collect. But I think in some partial ways, Hasbro has ripped us off, and I'm going to tell you how. Now, you can disagree with me, or you can prove me wrong, because I would love to see your opinions or facts about this, because this is me just doing my non-shill review here. The thing that I find that Hasbro has ripped people off in this Haslab is the fact that RIPCORD and Wild Bill share roughly the same body. So how much did it cost Hasbro for them to really just sculpt a new vest for Wild Bill and a hat and new head sculpts, but still give us the same body? Because they're not really spending loads of money on new body molds. They're basically recycling the bodies, and they're just painting it different colors. Now, you can say, yeah, but RIPCORD has the whole harness and this and that, which is great. I love the harness on him. But you can easily see by Glenda, how much do you think it cost Hasbro to create Glenda when they literally just reused the entire Scarlet body? Now, so my point is, it practically cost Hasbro not as much money to create these new figures, other than it didn't cost Hasbro much more money to create these figures aside from sculpting new like head sculpts or vest or whatever. But then when you see a comparison of RIPCORD next to the Halo jumper, you will see that the Halo jumper shares similar bodies to Airborne and similar head sculpts, or like the helmet and all this stuff, to NIGHTFORCE RIPCORD, which basically means they didn't really put in money into this. They took $275 out of everyone, even those who backed 4, and they're profiting a big chunk of change and giving you guys tooling of old figures that they already had and just gave you different colored versions of it. Now, I personally think that's a slap in the face, and I feel like Hasbro technically has a lot of these collectors hanging by the Unicrons, but so like, granted that you look at NIGHTFORCE CRAZYLEGS and you're like, okay, it's a really cool looking figure, but we know that the original version with the red and gray will come out, so that means the mold is already there. So I just feel like if you were paying $275 plus for all these figures, wouldn't you have expected them to create new molds and new designs for these figures? Because the point is, you should not be able to find these again. That's the whole point of the Haslab. This is the whole vehicle aside. The vehicle is the fantastic part, don't get me wrong. I'm talking about the characters. So, and the same goes with the Haslab His Tank. You are spending about $300 to back that Haslab His Tank, but the driver and the tactician figure are the same exact mold. They're just inverted colors. So how much did it cost you as a collector to pay for that Haslab and those figures, and how much did it cost Hasbro to make those two figures? So technically, they saved time by giving you the same exact figure twice, just in different colors, but telling you this is a tactician and this is the driver. So I don't know. I feel like moving forward, I feel very duped. And again, I've been collecting G.I. Joes since I was a kid. I've been collecting O-ring figures since I was a kid. Like, I know that variants, re-releases, reuse of body parts and accessories and all that is nothing new for Hasbro. I'm very well aware of this. But because the pricing has changed and the landscape of collecting has changed, and the fact that we're heading in the 6-inch scale market, there should be no excuse for them to continue that concept on bigger figures, because the whole concept of them saying, oh, but your money is paying for the tooling of these new figures. What tooling are they doing to give us new figures? Did it cost them a few $100 to sculpt Wild Bill's blue hat? Did it cost them like $500 to make Glenda's harness or her face, which doesn't even look good? Did it cost like a few $100 to make a RIPCORD? Even though, so a collector once told me on one of my comment section, I don't remember who it is, they're like, what are you complaining about RIPCORD? Because he looks exactly like the old vintage version. Yes, that is true, but this Haslab and this set of characters is supposed to be the modern, updated versions of classified figures. That's the whole concept and point of the retro line, is the retro line is supposed to give us what the old vintage versions were. If RIPCORD here, if his face already looks like this, and that's supposed to be the Haslab Elite version of like, ooh, the extra detail, then they're just going to utilize the same exact head for the regular version and just be like, well, here you go. So, you know, yeah. Russell Terrell, how's it going? Thank you so much for joining. Now let me just catch up with the chat. And also think about it. Wild Bill's two pistols, they look very cheap, so I'm not very impressed with those. And the fact that, like, okay, I'll give them credit that they've make faces where they could, you know, remove glasses, but if the glasses gimmick isn't working, they should not utilize that. If you're paying $275 for it, then you give us a damn extra head without the glasses, and you give us another head with glasses. Because if they can't figure out the formula to have glasses fit on the actual figure, they should not be making a figure where the glasses don't necessarily fit on by the ears, and for it to fall off, and then people are like trying to look for it. I had my Wild Bill's glasses fall out twice, and I have plush carpet, and I was like waving my hand through the carpet trying to find the damn thing, and it took me about like a few minutes, and I was like, shit, like here it is. Mr. Madga says boots too. Skibito Gaming says, hey guys, I'm not a customer, but we should come up with a retro card figure inspired by his channel with the code name Shark. Oh my god, that is the coolest. I'm pinning this. I'm pinning that. Skibito Gaming, that is freaking awesome, man. I love that comment so much. Actually, there is actually a G.I. Joe that's named after me. Give me a second. Let me show you. If you guys are familiar with Mr. Samson, who was a great subscriber to the channel, he actually made this for me last year, back on the RetroShArK channel. He gave me my own vintage O-ring figure, and it says, because I was a YouTuber, he called me the communications expert, and you can see it says Shark right there. And this is one of the coolest things because you can see it has my old S logo on there, and this was I think it's a custom art piece, and the figure literally captures how I looked at that specific time, which is freaking amazing because he's got the nose and the beard literally flawless, and weapons freaking dope. So the only way I can see Hasbro doing like a G.I. Joe Shark kind of thing would be Deep Six, but I doubt like they would ever do that. Copperhead says, man, I hope the Rattler figures don't have heads that look like dolls. I have more hope for the Rattler just because you're spending more money for it. But hopefully we'll see. Figs are exclusive. Variants. GLENDA is the only one who. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame them if GLENDA ever comes back, which is fine. HoloNet says classified isn't a premium line; they're just basic mass retail toys. True. I guess what I meant to say was just the terminology classified is supposed to be the newer something design of it, and then the retro figures are supposed to be like what the vintage O-rings were. And the fact that they're still trying to figure out how to work that thing, both lines, is amazing, because we've seen it with Dr. Mindbender. We've talked about that in a previous stream. So now it only means like what other figures will come out at this point. So we have two opposing thoughts here, because Liquid Identity says, I don't want sculpted on glasses. I've had no issues. But Gucci says buzzers quite literally are some of the worst. And Greg Archer is talking about something about a tracking number, so I'm not sure what that one refers to. But V. Anderson, welcome to the chat, says agreed, Shark. Classified now just means all things that were molded are now removable, and the design and look of these figures does feel about a year older than, which is rightfully so, because they've probably been working on this during the Buzzer and Ripper era, so I can understand why they didn't utilize a different mechanism for the head sculpts or glasses, but that's okay. Greg Archer says, I prefer molded on glasses. HoloNet says they're just maximizing their profits by appealing to more demographics. Somebody else asked me a question before. Aquarius Man says, can you let us know what happened to your other channel? It got struck and taken down. But see, that basically goes into the territory of Hasbro milking the Dreadnoks, right? Because we've all probably shared our frustration, or most of us probably did, about 2 out of the 3 Dreadnoks where one of them has molded on glasses and the other 2 don't. So the chances of them re-releasing the other 2 seems likely. I'm just not sure if they would, but it just seems like they probably would. HoloNet says, I lost Sarge's glasses. Damn. And it's cool if they are maximizing it or their profits to appeal more demographics, which is cool. However, a good idea would be, like, regardless whatever the demographics is, if you go on my analytics side of my YouTube channel, a lot of the viewers, the fan base, the subscribers or whatever is literally the ages of 36 to 55. So if they're trying to expand to the younger market, that's not happening, because I don't think kids younger than 25 even give 2 shits about classified or toys in general, because that whole generation is really all about their stupid TikToks and their damn phones and whatever gaming stuff they do now. So we're technically the last of our generation that probably collects action figures, because once we all depart from this world, we're all like it'll be done from there. Ionic Blood says the owner of Gridiron Studios confirmed he is working on the attachments for the Dragonfly. I mean, Gridiron Studios is doing some really cool stuff. I saw that they made a loadout for Alpine, which I thought was really sick. I give them credit where it's due, because they've made some they really make classified figures look more amped up than they should be, which is what classified should be in the beginning. But yeah, while we're at it, if you haven't liked this video, go ahead and please do so. If you're new, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. That would be dope. And yeah, thank you. BD says they need to release a new cartoon series to complement it. Well, that's another problem. A lot of these kids don't watch cartoons in general. They don't even watch TV because of all these other newer shows and stuff that are coming out. There's a specific I don't know. There's a specific generation that actually watches like cartoons, and you know, with me being in one of them, like I know what it's like waking up Saturday mornings watching my favorite cartoons on Fox Kids, or waking up in the morning watching like G1 Transformers and shit. And these kids, like, they don't have that. They don't know what it's like. Like, they don't know the thrill of waking up on a Saturday morning and, you know, rushing to their damn CRT TVs and then trying to like slap the TV to the side to make sure that channel 3 is not like busted, and then trying to you know, turn on the cable and then putting on their favorite shows. If the only people that are going to watch a cartoon series would be basically all of us that are in the chat. Imagine telling like a 22-year-old, hey, the new G.I. Joe series is on. They'll be like, so? They can put something on Netflix in regards to G.I. Joe, something geared towards adults. I mean, closest we have is G.I. Joe Resolute, which is a pretty amazing movie. Was it a movie? It was a movie, right? Yeah, pretty amazing movie. Yeah, I mean, think about it this way: they have the new G.I. Joe Wrath of Cobra video game coming out. I don't even think a lot of these newer generation kids are going to be even caring about Wrath of Cobra, or the fact that it's like 8-bit style or like whatever 16-bit, because that's catered towards the audience of all of us who grew up with like the NES and Sega Genesis or even Atari. So that kind of gives us that nostalgia, whereas these kids are going to be like, what is this pixelated bullshit? Like, I want my 4K crazy mirrorless PS5, like, you know, graphics where like you can see the reflections of faces within the water. Yeah, I absolutely agree, Todd C. Copperhead says the game looks dumb. Surprisingly, the game is fun. However, it's very repetitive. I played the demo version of it on the old channel, and it's very similar to the Ninja Turtles game. It's similar to the Power Rangers game that's just coming out. It looks very similar to the Prison City game that was just released. They want very similar to the horror Evil Dead and that Jason video game that just came out, and the Angry Video Game Nerd version. Still roughly the same. Liquid Identity says Wrath of Cobra gameplay is just shit. Won't get any new Joe fans at all. Yeah, because for us, if we play a G.I. Joe video game, if we unlock, let's say, okay, so there's a video game for PlayStation 3 called G.I. Joe. It was based on the one of the movies with Channing Tatum or whatever. I played that game and I was like, okay, this game isn't that bad. It's okay, even though the controls suck. But when I was unlocking characters, I unlocked characters like Kamakura, Shipwreck, and stuff, and I was getting excited because I was like, holy shit, I know these things. But if newer kids these days played that game and they're like, oh, you just unlocked Shipwreck, they'll be like, who the hell is Shipwreck? But yeah. So we will move on. So overall, my thoughts on the Dragonfly in general is that to kind of backtrack slightly, this is another one of those slight confusions, because for the past 2 channels that I've had, I've seen collectors say, we want vehicles, we want vehicles, we want vehicles, and rightfully so. And I've been saying it live stream after live stream that you guys are asking for tricky territory, because these are 6-inch figures. G.I. Joe is known for vehicles, and you guys are asking Hasbro to make these vehicles. Now, the Dragonfly is a great example of just one damn helicopter out of the hundreds of other vehicles that G.I. Joe has. And that shit was already $275, with the Rattler being $3 something. The Rattler is bigger and wider than the actual Dragonfly. It is wider than the HISS tank, rightfully so, because it's a jet. And then on top of that, collectors I've seen comments of collectors saying, oh my god, the Dragonfly is too big, or it's this is huge, it's massive. Again, it's a beautiful looking piece, but they're saying it's just taking up so much space, I don't know where to put it, I don't know where to put it. But then you have collectors also say, I want a whale. I'm like, if you guys can't even freaking have room for a Dragonfly, which is an air vehicle, how the hell are you going to make room for a classified whale that fits like up to 8 to 9 figures in that shit? The whale is a massive ass boat that holds in like 8 or 9 figures, maybe 7 at most, I forgot. This big beast holds 2 figures, and already it's taken up a lot of space. And the only thing that they're affording at the moment is giving us Vamps and Stingers, which are just Pulse exclusives. And then other than that, it'll be motorcycles, which can be at retail because the motorcycles are the easiest ones, which is the Ram cycles. But there's absolutely no way that vehicles moving forward, even bigger than this, will be... people should really know what the hell they're asking for, because I feel like at some point, because look, think about it, Hasbro or the G.I. Joe team has roughly confirmed that, you know, they're like 99.9% confirmed that they're not making a USS flag because it's really unrealistic. You know, it's just like the Defiant, the G.I. Joe like space shuttle, that's unrealistic. That's not going to happen unless you're willing to spend like over like $1,000 on each. Then it is what it is. But I would rather take that 1,000 and go buy a freaking original vintage USS flag. So Rocky Teller says the USS flag was teased a bit in the comics. But Todd C says never say never. Yeah, I mean, I'll always give the benefit of the doubt, that's for sure. It's just, it's very... I just don't know how they're going to pull this off when you have a whole batch of collectors that are complaining that these vehicles are too big. But then they also say, we want vehicles. But then the vehicles that they want are the big ones, but the big ones would have to cost them a lot of money, and then they go and complain saying it's too expensive and Hasbro's being greedy. I'm like, no, it's not Hasbro being greedy, it's just these are big vehicles for 6-inch figures. So, you know, it's kind of, it's a win-lose situation. You kind of have to, like, either you go down for it or not. Hollinet says Cobra Claws are coming to town. Speaking of Cobra Claws, let's move on to the next topic because, however, before I do, I just want to say congratulations to everyone that backed their Haslab Dragonfly. It is still, like I said, it's a fantastic piece. Some hits, some misses. The figures, if you're new to the stream, if you haven't seen me rant about it, I did all the way in the beginning, so go ahead and check that out. But oh, that was one of the ones I wanted to talk about. Somebody mentioned earlier in the chat that the HISS tank got the 788 fire team. So I have a feeling that Hasbro will definitely release a group of troopers to assist with the Dragonfly if the Haslab HISS tank got the 788 fire team and the red Techno Viper. So seeing how CRAZYLEGS and RIPCORD and Wolf Spider, they look pretty freaking sick together. I think NIGHTFORCE will be my favorite sub team right now in Classified. Chances are they'll probably give us like who else are we missing? I don't know, whoever characters part, either NIGHTFORCE or maybe some other part of the characters that are into the air whatever sub team. So I think it's very likely they will do that, only because people who bought the HISS tank got the incentive of now you can add the HMS to it, and then on top of that you got extra like 3 repainted troopers in red which was the the fire team. So I'm pretty sure maybe like the steel core would probably get like repainted into like darker green colors or something, which would be pretty sick. Maybe Glenda would be re-released in a darker green or something, but then again, that's kind of like coral. Never mind. I don't know, like if they made a new character like Wolf Spider for it, then it granted we'll probably get like another cool new character with that, so we'll see. Alright, so that was the Dragonfly. Liquid Identity says HMS was one of the best order cancellations I ever made. Mr. Madga says, Shark, do your hose stay in that side pouch on Ripcord? Yes, mine does. I had to forcefully snuck it in there. I didn't have any issues with it after I put it in because it's actually stuck in there now. So even if I were to remove the Ripcord's helmet, the hose still stays attached to the pouch that's on the side. So yeah, I kind of had to really shove it in there. Joshua says, wasn't Airborne considered the incentive? They've made Airborne and I think mostly Hawk as the incentive, because I remember they said the Dragonflies should have released sometime by like the old previous date to accompany, Hawk and his mission. So that's why I remembered that statement and put Hawk in this photo, because again, Hawk is one of my favorite classified figures, or character in general in G.I. Joe. Alright, so that's that. So yeah, overall, I'm kind of glad that the Haslab Dragonfly is out of the way, because now we can have 2 solid months of nothing, hopefully. And then, with the holidays around the corner, this should give everyone enough time to kind of like fund other projects and other stuff, and then, we can wait until next year kind of kicks our ass. Alright. So that was the discussion of the Haslab Dragonfly, which I thought was pretty rantful for me. Ionic Blood says maybe a jetpack launch pad. That would be pretty cool. Todd C says they revealed Airborne because people were crying over Glenda. Was that true? I don't remember. Alright. So up next, in this next portion, let's talk about the name-only reveals of what we have so far. Now, in order to avoid any trouble, which is very unfortunate, today's leaks were provided by Weibo.com, LaserPants81, and Facebook user JCon. Now, I'm not going to be posting any photos because that's just going to get me in trouble. So, basically what happened was we had the Cobra Claw pilot, not necessarily leaked, but the figure was shown in hand by one of the users on Weibo.com. And then I don't know if it's the same exact user, but then they also shared not just Heavy Duty with all its accessories, but also 2 other new classified figures that we are not aware of at the moment. But a lot of the comments were thinking it's going to be a Retro Breaker. That's why I put a question mark, so it's not confirmed. And then I put some other dude because I couldn't tell who that other figure was. So if you guys who are very well into that, maybe you can let me know who those other 2 figures were. But I didn't really like observe those 2 figures. I just kind of looked at it. Well, you know what? Let me look at my phone and see what the 2 figures were. Hopefully the image is still there somewhere. Where are you? Where are you? Okay, I found the photo. So I'm looking at the photo right now. So one of the figures was, oh, we also had a Footloose, like colored prototype already out. So that was another thing from Weibo.com. I am looking at the photos right now. There's one figure that looks like Chris Hemsworth or whatever, the Thor guy. And there's another guy that has like a shipwreck style haircut but wearing green. And the other one's like blue. So I would have said it's Breaker, but it doesn't have that same Breaker face sculpt from the Cobra Island version. So that's why I put question mark. But he has those knee pads that I hate, and then the green character is really more of a standard one that looks more like could have been like a Falcon, better body type. But I do like his hair and his head sculpt, which is pretty cool. So yeah. So we still have no confirmation what the hell those two new characters are, but again, I don't want to post the photos for safety reasons. However, the biggest surprise for me was seeing the Slice and Dice leaks, because I had no clue or no idea that those were even on the way. So looking at Slice first, he seems dope. I think I'm going to be collecting the ninjas in the classified line. And Dice looks freaking amazing with the purples and the blacks and then the boots, and then he comes with like two alternate heads, one with more of like a kabuki masked dragon head, and then his original like face, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I think it looks freaking amazing. I really hope that Slice and Dice is more of a 2-pack because it would be easier, but if not, that's okay. But for Slice, he doesn't have, at least in this photo that I'm looking at right now, again, I don't want to post it for safety reasons. He doesn't have the mesh faceplate that like the original vintage version does, because it seems like it's just all black. So again, this could easily just be like a prototype for now. But the other head sculpt that they're using for him is kind of like a skull-esque with the same black mask. The red color scheme looks cool. I love the boots, and the shoulder pads look dope. But yeah, I'm very impressed and pleased with how both of these turned out. And I think moving forward with Classified, I think I'm just going to look for the ninjas and kind of complete the ninja roster, just because I'm not really too fond of the way Classified's been heading lately. And I want to go back to collecting the figures of Classified that actually mean something to me, rather than being a completist and trying to get like every single figure, because there's no point of me getting figures that I think don't look well just for the sake of adding it to my collection. They're gonna search for Nunchuck. Yeah, I mean, even with Nunchuck, I hate the grays that they used on Nunchuck, so I feel like they need to re-release Nunchuck in a better color scheme, because his camo grays were just god-awful. The green, the lime green or whatever they used from is fine. It's just the grays that they used for it is very unappealing and uninspired. But yeah, so again, we'll talk more about Slice and Dice when we get like official confirmation, or more official, actually official photos. But for now, based on the leaks, both of those characters look pretty sick. Yeah, I think Crystal Ball, it will be off the table, just because. So Classified basically made most of all my favorite characters, right? So we had Hawk, we have Kamakura, Shipwreck. They've done Copperhead. I'm still waiting for Dial Tone, which I know he's already out in terms of pre-order, but Mainframe, Night Viper, Hydro Viper, some other figures from part of the Deke series like Psych Out and Tracker, and then like Battle Force 2000. So I think moving forward, I'm going to be really, or like even Muskrat, I'm going to be buying the characters that I have an actual connection to, because I already have all the vintage versions. I don't need the same thing in classified. So I think I really want to, like, with classified, be really picky as possible, especially if the prices are even going up. Joshua says, I'm a near completist. I want every character, but I don't need every version. I mean, kudos to you, man, because sometimes that plays a hard role, because sometimes other versions look better than the previous one. Skyfall says sci-fi. Yes, sci-fi is another fantastic figure. I need to look for that guy. I would really want a sci-fi figure. Oh, and they already released a low light, so I'm happy with him. Spirit is a cool one too. So yeah, so I think other than that, like, I don't think I'm in no rush or need to get like a DARKLON. I don't. I'm kind of skipping and passing over all the retro figures, because again, I already have all the vintage figures from the O-ring ones, so I don't need to get like a same bigger scale of what I already have, unless it's characters again like I have an attachment to, like Mainframe or a Night Viper. Night Viper, I'm very concerned about, because I hope they don't utilize the same Alley Viper head, because it's very similar. I want Night Viper to really have like its own unique design to it, and hopefully they do that. Hollandnet says Tracker was in the Deke series. Yeah, he didn't really have much dialogues in the episodes, but there's a scene where, I don't remember what episode that was, but there's a scene where they're in those little helicopters, and then him, Psych Out, and some other character were fighting the Sonic fighter Road Pig at some botanical garden or some shit like that. But yeah, he was, you can see him like in the background. Liquid Identity says, I'm excited for cool characters. Saw Viper, Slice and Dice. Yeah, I'm definitely all in on the ninjas, that's for sure. Let's see here. They're gonna wait on Night Viper. Yeah, hopefully they do something good with him. Globulus is my ultimate wish. I forgot who was I was having a conversation with. I think it was Will Newman. We were talking about Globulus, and we were saying how Globulus will most likely, and rightfully so, will probably be more of a easy San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, rather than like the lowest form of Globulus would probably be a Pulse exclusive. But because Globulus is this big dude with, you know, his tail and then the little pore spot that he comes with, or the pod, I mean, I feel like the way, I don't know, I feel like Globulus is going to be tricky, because it's either they're going to release him with just the tail only, or they have to make it a way that the tail bends in a situation where it goes into the pod, because that was like his form of transportation. So and that thing would look pretty hefty in the movie, so I don't know how they're really going to figure that one out, but we'll see. Rocky says, I'm not a completist, but I'm slowly growing into more third party and going pretty selective. Yeah, I mean, to be quite honest, like, and I know, again, like, I am a huge G.I. Joe fan and classified fan, but I've really lost a lot of interest in G.I. Joe classified, not just because of, like, the way the direction that it's heading, but just the fact that a lot of the designs are just not doing it for me, and it's not hitting that happiness and nostalgia that I kind of wanted. And it's also because it's probably due to the fact that I have the original O-rings, so I'm kind of like content with what I have. And you know, with the gummy weapons, the I don't know, like the wobbliness of some figures, and then how some figures are like hits and miss. They could have done better on certain figures here and there. I'm just like, it's kind of like annoying me, where it's like I can kind of spend that money on other figures that, or like other toy lines that I would need for, or like Kickstarters, for example, you know, maybe Monster Force, or buy like Galactic Veiler, or get like Savage Crucible, or even like what's his name, Animal Warriors of the Kingdom by Sparrow Toys. And then there's the other one I'm forgetting. Damn, what was the other one that I liked? The there's Combat Creatures, and then there's even oh, and Meta Travelers. So I started kind of focusing more on like Kickstarters and other figures, more so than focusing on G.I. Joe, just because, you know, I love G.I. Joe, but I feel like there's other properties that are also killing it right now that I want to focus on too. Ionic Blood says, do you think the shipping delay will kill the momentum? Probably not. I think the momentum is already killing itself, if that makes any sense. I don't think the delays will do it. I think it's the concept of where or what style of G.I. Joe collector are you, because there's collectors that are you know, it's very apparent of what kind of G.I. Joe collector they are. They want to focus on the original 80s run, and then they want to dip right after that. There's collectors that just want the original 13, and then they're going to dip after that. It's going to be very slim in the next couple of years that you're going to find a collector that's still collecting every single G.I. Joe figure. There still will be those collectors out there, but a good portion of these Joe fans, or like these classified collectors, they're going to end up leaving the line, not just because of the money or the style of the figures, but it's the fact that they got the figures that they wanted as a kid, and they're happy with what they have, and now they can focus on other stuff, like probably Ninja Turtles or Transformers or stuff like that. And I see it, like, as a YouTuber, like, I see it on my channel all the time of people saying, once they finish a certain selective roster of characters, like, I'm out. And you know, there's some people that aren't even into the Deke series, and that's like already 100 characters of itself on its own, and you still have like Battle Force 2000 and these crazy ass other random characters that G.I. Joe can last for another 15 years, maybe 20 at most. But again, the demographic of us collectors are really from the age 35 to 50. And just like what the Nerd Alert is also saying, the quality is not always there. Like, just because I love G.I. Joe doesn't mean that I'm going to kiss ass and show for it and be like, just because the quality sucks, like, oh, I'm still going to support the brand. There are many figures that I have in my collection right now that you can probably see. You can't see behind me, but it's there. The quality is terrible. They're just not good. And then sometimes it's just like, why am I spending $25 on these whack ass gummy, like, broken quality style figures from $1 billion company when I can spend it on another company that's actually gonna make the cost worth the price? So I don't know. I think just because, like, you know, it is what it is. You know, it's like being a toy collector. It's like you just have to buy what makes you happy, and sometimes more so than ever, G.I. Joe is like slowly losing my momentum, and it's like I don't, you know, like I'm kind of happy with what I have, and I can just kind of like move on with other figures and like enjoy collecting like other brands and stuff. Liquid says, despite quality issues here and there, Classified still has some of the best articulation, accessories, paint, and design for $25. Yeah, I agree. Classified is definitely the best Hasbro brand that they have. I mean, Marvel isn't their baby, so that's like a shared license, but Classified is their own bread and butter, so they have the freedom to kind of do it in any form where possible. But I think one of my major issues or complaints is really not necessarily the price or the articulation accessories, because like Liquid Identity says, like those are really great bonuses to the figures. But my issue is you have some figures that look incredibly detailed, even in the facial features department. And then you have figures like Road Pig, who looks like an anime character. And then you have, like, I don't know, another character that looks very cartoony. And then you have another figure that looks like he's, I don't know, like he's normal or something. So, it just makes me feel like the whole line in itself is like a mess, and it kind of like it bothers me just seeing like how they don't have a plan for it, and it's just like I don't want to waste my time and like my whatever life I have left to kind of wait for them to correct it when I can just like say, okay, you guys tried it, but it didn't really work for me, so I can just, you know, go on. However, it doesn't mean like I don't get excited. Like I'll still like, when I saw the leaks for Slice and Dice, I got really happy. I said, shit, I definitely want those figures. But, you know, seeing like the announcements of like Retro Flint or Retro CoverGirl, I'm just like, like, you know, it's whatever. Like I'm fine. So all right. So other than that, let me see what else we have. All right, so I'm gonna leave the floor to you guys. Go ahead and ask away any questions or whatever, and I'll try to respond if you so choose. I'm trying to think because, yeah, it's going to be a very slow next 2 months. V. Anderson says, it seems like a company would dump more time and effort into their proprietary products than shared ones. I mean, I can't speak on behalf of Marvel Legends or even Star Wars, but it really just depends on what you guys, because I've seen Star Wars collectors get mad like over basically all the reveals that happen like every single time. So to be quite honest, because I don't really know Star Wars, I can't say like this is a reason why. But it sucks because like when I watch the streams, I just see comments of people like just tossing L's saying figure sucks, we don't need this, why this guy, give us this, give us that. Ionic Blood says they're definitely making a Jabang then. I mean, his design was never really one of my favorites at all, but I would love to, I don't know if I would get that particular character just because his yellow and blue design is just kind of a little all over the place. If the classified version can sell me on it, then I'll be fine. But I actually don't have that O-ring version because there's something about it that I'm not like too keen on getting. Rocky Teller says, how do I feel about the third party 1/12 GI Joe vehicles? It really just depends. Like, I don't know how they're getting away with the licensing and stuff. Some of them look really cool. It's just with third party vehicles, it's like it's very tricky territory because Hasbro can easily shut down those projects, and they can make one really good vehicle. They can take your money as a pre-order, but then you know, Hasbro can easily like do a cease and desist and then take down the whole project, and then you probably won't ever get your vehicle, or if you do, you'll probably get like one of them, and then the second project will get like canceled. So it's one of those things where it's like you can't expect a third party to last long at all. It's kind of like just take the risk as it goes. Liquid says, do we need Ninja Vipers in classified? They'll make all of them regardless, so there's no we definitely know they'll do it for sure. Do we need it? Probably not, but would we want it? Sure. I mean, it really just depends on design and aesthetic. Mr. Madguest says, do you think we're going to get a classic Wild Bill? I 100% agree to this. The reason why is because this Wild Bill that you see that's part of the Haslab is the exact version that the retro or like the vintage O-ring figure has, which is the green and brown vest. But the design of Wild Bill in the animated series is actually blue and orange, so it's very easy for them to do a cartoon version of Wild Bill and put that in like maybe a retro packaging or something. So I have about a good 90% strong chance that Wild Bill will definitely be re-released, because he's a one-of-a-kind body mold or like face sculpt, and they wouldn't let that go to waste. Joshua says, who makes the most sense for the gunner seat? Ripcord, CRAZYLEGS, GLENDA, or even Airborne? So GLENDA, her biography, I think, says she's a co-pilot. So she makes one of the more sense. Airborne, as a kid, like I don't remember what Airborne's specialty is, but as a kid, I always made CRAZYLEGS and Airborne more of the guys that just, they're the ones that always jump out of the helicopters for missions, and same goes for Ripcord. So when it comes for like the gunner seat, I think it's mostly you have GLENDA be in the front and Wild Bill in the back. Joe's dwarfed by Star Wars and Marvel. I mean, I don't even know what to say about Star Wars and Marvel at this point. It's just, there's only so many Captain Americas and Iron Mans they can make, and they're just still going at it, so it's crazy. Nerd Alert says, road pace ass. Solo Sinner says, not sure if you touched on it yet, but Monster Force is going to fill classified gap for me, just military looking ones at least for GI Joe. I mean, Monster Force has some really, really good looking figures. Sure, their style or what their theme may be more like on the horror-esque or something a little more on the other fantasy style. But their military, like if you look at Monster Force's wave like 2 and 3 and 4 or 5, I don't know how far they even went. They've made some incredible looking figures that are just like so intense looking, you know. They're from like that old 60s 70s eras outfits, and it's just like the detail looks incredible. So I think they are, I'm sure they will look great in classified, but they would also be more in its own league because classified has more of a vibrant-esque look to them, whereas the Monster Force are more like dark and gritty characters. Copperhead Shrimp says, do you think they will invent more new characters like Wolf Spider and Mole Rat? Cobra needs some new people that aren't troop builders. I 100% agree. I think they will definitely release more characters like that. I think it's one of those things where they won't do it a lot, but they'll definitely do it enough to the point where we'll get like maybe 1 to 2, maybe 3 new characters, like maybe 2 at most a year, just so like it gives them, but don't expect them to look like super duper, you know, brand new tooling or sculpted type figures, because we've seen with well, Mole Rat was pretty new. That was pretty nice. But he was very inspired by Zombie Viper. But if you look at Wolf Spider, he has basically scrap irons, you know, lower half, and then I forgot what the other top half is, but you know, it's all basically, these new characters will all be like kit bashings at this point. So I wouldn't expect anything too new out of like new characters. Airborne is a certified Hello Gunner. Okay, well that's, I mean, yeah, that works. Rocky Teller says the Nemesis Immortal has been getting a lot of negative flack for not being retro movie inspired, as it's more comic book look, which many are not familiar with. As a reader of the comic, I like that design. Yeah, so that was another thing with Nemesis Immortal. You know, I myself, you know, as being a big 87 GI Joe movie fan, I was really happy to see Nemesis Immortal being listed. But then when they revealed his design, I was like, okay, it's kind of like 50-50 for me, but it still looks beefy and cool, but whatever. But as soon as they said that his design was inspired by the Skybound comics, that kind of gave me a big red flag, because I haven't read the Skybound comics yet or anything, but that's an open gate for them to even release more characters of the same name with the new design and say, oh, this is a Skybound, this is a comic book version of so-and-so character, whereas now they're treading into a third like style of figures, because Nemesis Immortal, yeah, he has that same color scheme and design roughly as the vintage version, but that's an easy giveaway for them to be like, yeah, we're going to re-release Nemesis Immortal, but probably skinnier, but more taller, because when you look at photos for those that have him, he's the same height roughly, I think, as Serpentor, which in the movie is really not accurate because he towers over Sergeant Slaughter. So is it a good looking figure? Yes, but is it an accurate looking Nemesis Immortal Enforcer? No. So that's another good reason why I didn't want to buy that one. If Ripcord and CRAZYLEGS jump out of this copter, they'll be slice and dice. Oh yeah, you're right. But then again, in GI Joe world, remember Chuckles was on top of the helicopter in the 87 movie and freaking pushed the propellers and was dangling like underneath the propellers. If that dude moved his head, he would have got chopped off. That's what made me walk away from Legends. Got tired of the same characters over and over again. Yeah, but so with Marvel Legends is the same story, right? Like, as someone that's not too deep into Marvel, I know some of my, you know, a lot of the main Marvel characters and then some of the B-side, maybe C-side characters. But then when you're dipping into the deep end of Marvel, a lot of the main collectors would know who those characters are. I wouldn't really know who they are. And it's the same as collectors who are like, who the hell is Glenda? But I knew who Glenda was. So it kind of, it's like an even trade. Monkey Wrench and Zanya and Heart Wrencher most likely will come in 2025. I remember that rumor for Heart Wrencher, but her 2-pack with Falcon ended up becoming Coral, which I thought was interesting. Classified should always be a slight update in more modern aesthetics. They have retro line now for people who insist on pure. What? Classified should always be a slight update to more modern aesthetics. I 100% agree. They have retro line now for people who insist on pure retro. I 100% agree. And that's a topic I've been discussing for the past like 4 years now on the channels. So you're absolutely right, Liquid Identity. You're 100% right. The only problem with what Hasbro is doing is that they're making the classified versions and their aesthetics, even if it is modern and updated, it's very slight to the point where it's not a drastic difference compared to the retro one. For example, Rakondo got a NIGHTFORCE treatment, but then his retro version was the vintage accurate O-ring version. So we technically don't have a modern Rakondo, which not people would care about, but that means characters like Rakondo will probably not get an update. If you look at Dial Tone, he looks very exact to the T of this old vintage version, and characters like him will probably not get a retro because he looks very accurate. So there's certain, like, what the hell are they thinking in the Hasbro department for certain characters that kind of makes it a little of a mess, because again, if you want like a night and day difference of a character, a good example would probably be like Flint, I would assume. Flint was in the earlier waves from the Operation Blackout video game design. However, he has a drastic update and his face looks different, whereas the retro one will probably be the same as Duke, whereas the Duke from Wave 1 is a lot different than Duke from Wave 2. So that's what I call a good difference between retro and classified, parentheses, or quotation marks, whatever. So yeah, it's one of confusing headaches. Or as Zed Burns, welcome to the chat, as Zed Burns nicely put, retro eels exactly the same. So the retro eels, you know, I've seen both versions. They are literally 99.9% the same. The retro eel, or sorry, the retro snow serpent is about 99.9% the same. He just doesn't come with the wolf head, the snowboard, but it still has mostly the same weapons. He's just more, I guess, whiter, and the blues are more vibrant. So to me, it doesn't justify enough for me to buy the same version twice. It just makes it easier for people who army build to buy them, but I personally would have just been like, listen, dude, just do, you know, make it right the first time. Like a design that makes everyone be like, oh shit, that looks pretty cool. Like a good example would be freaking Major Blood. I always said that Major Blood has and always will be in my top 5 favorite classified figures. And that version of Major Blood looks so great because I love his facial expression. I love just the detail they put on his face. That version compared to a Major Blood that will probably be a retro one will be like the blues, the browns, and the grays, and then that makes perfect sense. Beachhead again makes perfect sense. The Cobra Island one was a pretty decent update. I love that Cobra Island one. The retro one looks just like his old vintage one, so those are a great night and day comparison. So, but other figures like the retro eels and some snow serpents, those were just cash grabs to me. Really looking forward to those Hydro Vipers. Yeah, I really hope that the Hydro Viper's face looks freaking fantastic. Like the masks that Hydro Vipers come with. As a kid, if you look at the artwork of Hydro Viper, those things are scary, man. Like the manta ray masks, those things are scary as hell. As a kid, I was spooked by it, but it's freaking sick. I'm waiting for Classified to make a High Tech, says Merging Lion. High Tech is a cool character. That I think he was the one with that blonde hair, right? I think it was the blonde hair. Hydro Viper and Undertow Deluxe would be sweet. It's possible because I feel like they might just utilize the same torpedo body or eel's body and to do Hydro Viper, because Hydro Viper really is, aside from like a webbed one hand and then being like purple and pink, it shouldn't be too much of a difficult task to do. Whereas Undertow, he has, there's multiple versions of Undertow that I have in my vintage figures. So there's the blue version, then there's I think the green and red version. So oh, Mr. Sampson has joined the chat. Welcome. He says, I miss the good old days when all figures were one price, no deluxe bullshit. Yeah. The deluxe part of it is just, I mean, I don't even know what to say at this point. I think deluxes only make sense to me as if it's a San Diego Comic-Con thing, or if it's like a New York Toy Fair, or like, you know, like those big Hasbro events like 1027 Comic-Cons and stuff like that. But if they're gonna randomly make like a exclusive just for the sake of it, then that kind of, you know, or like Trench Viper, I guess that kind of makes sense just because he comes with all those porta potties, and those are kind of like buildings-esque, so it's like you can't necessarily you know, so stuff like that to me is okay. But if it's figures like Kamakura, which I still don't understand how that dude is a deluxe, I'd be like, what the hell? Kamakura only came with like one head, reuse of Akiko weapons, and his hood was reused from Storm Shadows, and it's really the same body as Storm Shadow, just green. So it's like a slap to my face because Kamakura is one of my favorite ninjas, and it's literally Storm Shadow in green. So it wasn't like worth it enough for me to be like, this is a fantastic looking figure, because I would have loved to have a brand new sculpted ninja, but you know, they didn't do that, which is very unfortunate. Copperhead says there's no reason for Starduster to be $35 for what? Some blast effects in a cereal box. So Starduster, of course, you know, we know it's the same retro Duke body, just different paint scheme. Cereal box, the jetpack, and did I say new face sculpt? And I guess Starduster kind of makes sense because Starduster was more of a mail away figure, I think, in the older golden days. So then it makes it easier to have like its specialty for that. Sure, the accessories probably weren't enough, but if he was kind of like a hard sought out figure from in the past, then I guess it rightfully so to make the same style the way it is now. Trench Viper, it's okay, but I wish the playsets were just without the figures. Well, that was an easy call for them to just reuse an Alley Viper mold and just sell, because if they were to sell just the trenches or whatever the hell you want to call them, or the surveillance ports or whatever they're called, then I think maybe they would have, I mean, they would have sold out regardless. It's just they don't want to be sitting on these molds for no reason. I passed on him. Me too. I don't think I've ever felt any deluxe was really worth it. They threw a bunch of stuff with to bloat them, but most was not useful or interesting. Like my only pure definition of deluxes would be the Supreme Cobra Commander, because it's a figure, like I always say in my other live streams a lot of times. It has to be a figure that you don't need, but you have the option to get it if you want it. So like Pimp Daddy Destro, Profit Director Destro should have been a deluxe. But it's a figure that should not have been in a regular numbered classified line. Supreme Cobra Commander is a good example of having it being a figure as part of the exclusive. Serpentor, I kind of understand just because he came with the Air Chariot and he is like the big baddie of G.I. Joe, but to kind of screw over collectors saying, oh, but the next version of Serpentor, you probably won't get the Air Chariot. You'll just get the figure only, kind of will screw over a lot of people, because the Air Chariot is the incentive to Serpentor, because that's his vehicle. Dr. Mindbender was probably the biggest slap in anyone's. I think Dr. Mindbender is what really made me draw the line for me to kind of not necessarily quit classified, but kind of take a very big step back, because first of all, I could care less about packaging. I'm not an inbox collector or anything, but you know, when you have a character like Dr. Mindbender being a convention exclusive, you're kind of like, why the hell is he an exclusive? Because he's a main Cobra. He's one of the main Cobra villains. He should not be an exclusive. On top of that, you have all those additional accessories that he came with. Like, forget about the trifold box. You know, he comes with that brain, the skull or whatever, and the little lab stuff. I forgot the hell what it's called. He comes with all that junk. But then when he didn't have the logo on the back, I was like, that is a missed opportunity. Big time. And the fact that years later, finally we get a Dr. Mindbender with the logo on the back, but now he just has like a silver trim on his boot. I'm like, that is not cool. You know what I mean? It's like, that kind of figure should not have been any kind of exclusive by any means. All right, let's see what the chat is saying. October Guard. I don't think they'll ever make October Guard. That's because there are the Russian GI Joes, so that's not gonna work. Ionic says, I'm writing a letter to Santa. Please write one to him on my behalf as well. Mainline figures should not be exclusive in general. Yes, I completely agree. Like, I can tolerate figures like Nemesis Immortal or Globulus or Once a Man Cobra Commander or Supreme Cobra Commander. Anything in that kind of category, Profit Director Destro, like that, those are what I call exclusives, because it just makes it, you know, the option to get it, but if you don't need it, then you don't have to get it. But the fact that they kind of flopped around making Chuckles a freaking random ass character to be an exclusive made no sense to me whatsoever. Like, I can give two shits about his briefcase and handcuffs and his floral, you know, whatever the hell they call it. And let alone, you know, like in the 87 movie, he wore a white floral shirt with the yellow pattern, the yellow flowers. So, yeah, that just means we'll get like another version of Chuckles down the line too. Zed Burns says Scrap Iron, Snow Jab, Tripwire shouldn't have been deluxe. Well, Scrap Iron, I can maybe understand, because he came with those drones, like the vehicle drone or whatever. So that kind of makes sense, because that kind of vehicle, the stuff that the accessories that the drone comes with makes a little sense to me. If he was alone, then yeah, no need, but it just seems like the drone itself was the highlight of making him the way he is, which only means that there's only a matter of time before we get a retro scrap iron, which seems very likely to me as well. Put all the Cobra Law behind exclusives. Looks like they are making the movie characters exclusive. I mean, I would have been really pissed if like Tunnel Rat, Law and Order, and Jinx were all like exclusives. So, alright, so I'll probably just stay on for like a few more minutes, but let me see, what else do we have here? So we've already talked about these digital renders, so there's really not much else to say other than Footloose I don't care about. Law and Order is fine. Blowtorch, we definitely know a retro version will come out at some point, because I mean, I'm sure the main figure will look cool in person, but we'll see. Snake Eyes we'll talk more about later. Cobra Claw, there's a leaked actual figure that's prototyped, or not prototyped, but like the figure's actually been leaked out. So maybe we'll get like a pre-order for the Cobra Claw probably in February. And then FRAGVIPER is a fine figure, just, you know, it's whatever. And then the Firefighter is cool. So yeah, so I already talked about all these figures anyway on the previous live stream. So if you haven't checked that out, go ahead and do so. There probably won't be any updates to this digital renders list until probably next year. So that's pretty much it. So yeah, anyways, we did see the figure Firefighter buck in hand. That reflective silver is great. Oh, okay, scrap iron. All right, so other than that, I think I will end the stream here because there's not much else. Yeah, so I want to thank all of you guys for joining the stream. If you haven't liked the video, go ahead and do so. And to all the amazing people that were here on the chat tonight, thank you so much for making the stream fun. And thank you for all the familiar names for coming back to the channel. It really does mean a lot to me. So I don't know when the next live stream will be, because again, it's going to be a very slow 2 months from here. But if there's anything to talk about, I'll probably make a stream for next week and we'll see what happens. Jason says, Shark, will you do an upcoming video on the Rogues list of G.I. Joe villains, like the ones that are left? I'll try. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'll look into it for sure. But that's a good idea, Jason. So thanks BD Bonzi, thanks Solo Sinner, thanks Joshua. Yeah, so hopefully I'll have a stream for you guys next week if there's anything good to talk about. Other than that, thank you guys all for watching. Be sure to give a like and subscribe if you haven't. Once again, thank you to everybody in the chat tonight. You guys are freaking awesome. I appreciate for making this community on this channel freaking peaceful and no drama, no nothing. So thank you guys so much. Take care. Have a great weekend. Enjoy collecting, and I'll see you guys all in the next stream. Take care. Peace and